If I lost all of my charisma and had to start over from zero, I wouldn't spend years reading boring books. I would use this exact 7-day blueprint I'm going to share with you in this video. I know what you're thinking. That's not enough time. You can't go from a social ghost to a magnetic leader in a week. And you're right. Real charisma is just like a muscle that you can only build through practice and repetition over and over again, and that takes time. But here's the twist. Most guys don't fail at becoming charismatic because they don't have enough time. They fail because they don't have a structure to follow through. They try a trick here and a hack there, but they never build a foundation. So I want you to think of these 7 days not just as 24-hour windows, but as 7 critical phases. Some of you might master a phase in a few days, others might need weeks or months. But here is the exciting part. Even though total mastery takes time, you will see progress the second you start practicing. People will look at you differently, the energy in the room will shift, and you will start to feel different about yourself as well. But you have to be disciplined. You cannot skip a single phase. If you do, you're just building a house on sand. With that being said, let's start with the first day on what I would do if I lost all of my charisma. Day 1, the internal switch. Most guys fail at charisma before they even open their mouth because they are leaking taker energy. If I lost all of my charisma and had to build it from scratch, on the first day I wouldn't even talk to anyone else. I would focus entirely on this internal switch. You must become a mountain that doesn't move just because the wind blows. Most men fail because their mood is a slave to the room. If a girl smiles, they are happy. If she looks bored, they panic. This makes you look nervous, reactive, and ultimately invisible. Your goal for phase 1 is to become emotionally independent. You need to realize that your value doesn't change based on someone else's opinion. Charisma is not a reward for good behavior. It's the unavoidable consequence of your own internal state. Most guys walk into a room looking for approval. They want to be liked or they want the girl to notice them. This is taker energy, and people can smell it instantly. You aren't walking into a room to win the conversation. You are there to experience it. Once you stop needing them to like you, the social anxiety disappears and you create space for actual magnetism. You decide that you are the source of the good vibes, not the seeker of them. If you've mastered phase 1 and fixed your mindset, congratulations. You've just built a shield that most men will never have. You are no longer a victim of the room's energy. But a strong mind is useless if you spend the whole time thinking about how cool you look. To fix that, we move to phase 2. Day 2, the spotlight shift. Most guys think being charismatic means being the most interesting person in the room. They spend the whole time waiting for their turn to speak, just so they can tell a better story or talk about how great they are. But actually, people love nothing more than talking about themselves. Think about it. Nothing feels better than when someone actually listens to your problems or your wins. In fact, the best conversations you've ever had were probably the ones where you did 80% of the talking and everyone else feels the exact same way. So in phase 2, you stop trying to shine the spotlight on yourself. Instead, you flip it. You become a source of honest interest. When someone speaks, you don't just nod, you dig. Ask about the why behind their story. Ask, you had a hard week. Why is that? What happened? Or, why are you working out so much? What is your drive behind that? I'm curious to know. When they feel that you truly value their passion and their perspective, they get a massive hit of dopamine. They become addicted to the way you make them feel because you are giving them the validation they are desperately craving. By making them the star, you move from being just another actor to becoming the director. And the director always has more power because he controls where the energy goes. Don't shift the focus back to you. Stay in the director's chair and watch how they start scanning the room just to find you again. Before we move to phase 3, there is something I almost forgot. Most people have no clue how charismatic they actually are. And obviously, it is extremely helpful to know where you stand because you can't fix what you can't see, right? That's why we built the Charisma Score Test. It's completely free, and in under 3 minutes, you'll receive your exact charisma score as well as your specific tier. You can find the link in our bio. Day 3, physical anchoring. Charisma isn't just about what comes out of your mouth. It's about the presence you command before you even open it. If you look like you're trying to hide, the room will treat you like you don't exist. Most guys walk around with light energy. They fidget, they scan the room for exits, and they roll their shoulders forward like they're protecting their chest from a punch. They take up as little space as possible, screaming to the world that they are uncomfortable and ready to run. To fix this, you need to practice physical anchoring. Instead of just standing, you're going to anchor yourself like a leader. Position your feet exactly shoulder width apart and imagine your legs are 2 heavy steel pillars sinking into the floor. Don't lean on one leg like you're bored or looking for an escape. While your legs are anchored, take a deep breath and let your shoulders drop away from your ears. When you are anchored, you stop moving back and forth. You look like the most solid, confident person in the room because you're comfortable in your own space. It's a trust signal that tells everyone, I'm here to stay, feel free to join me. People instinctively treat you like a leader because you look like someone who can't be easily shaken. But looking solid isn't enough if you fold the second someone challenges your opinion, which brings us to the next phase. Day 4, frame control. Imagine you're talking to your crush or somebody you like. Most people make the other person their North Star. They agree with everything just to keep the peace. They change their personality just to be liked. But this kills attraction instantly because it feels fake. You have to realize that to create a spark, there has to be friction. Without that tiny bit of tension, you're just another nice guy who is begging for approval. If you want others to actually value you, you have to stop selling yourself and start making them qualify themselves to you. You need to become the auditor. You are the one with the high standards. Instead of proving why you are a good catch, use reverse qualification to see if they are interesting enough to be in your world. Imagine she tells you she's really ambitious or into business. Instead of nodding like a fan, give her a skeptical look and say, a lot of people like the idea of success, but very few actually have the discipline to get there. What's one thing you've done that proves you're not just a dreamer? By doing this, you aren't just the guy she's talking to. You're the auditor deciding if she meets your standards. Once you own the frame, you move from being an applicant to being the prize they are desperate to win. Day 5, emotional stability. Most guys are reactive. If someone tests them or makes a joke at their expense, they get angry or defensive. If they talk to a girl they find attractive, they get nervous and start talking faster. This tells the world that the environment controls you, and if the environment controls you, you aren't a leader. Truly magnetic men stay grounded even when the stakes are high or the room gets uncomfortable. To master this, you need to practice the balance of fire and ice. Most men are either too cold and come off as arrogant or too warm and come off as people pleasers. You want to be both. You bring the fire, which is your warmth, your genuine smile, and the positive energy that makes people feel safe and welcome around you. But underneath that warmth, you must have an unshakable core of ice. This means that no matter what happens, whether someone tries to provoke you or a situation gets awkward, your internal state does not change. You remain calm, unbothered, and totally in control of your emotions. When you stay friendly while remaining completely stable, the room starts reacting to you instead of you reacting to the room. People are naturally drawn to stability. The next time someone tries to test you or throw you off balance, don't bark back and don't panic. Just give them a small, calm smile, keep that ice in your core, and let the moment sit. Because once you can handle your own emotions, you're ready to handle the pressure of the next phase. Day 6, tension management. Most people treat silence like a mistake. They feel the physical pressure to fill every gap with noise just to kill the awkwardness. You've seen this before. Someone asks a question, and before the other person can even think, they start rambling or making jokes to save the moment. But actually, when you rush to speak, you are leaking your power. You are showing everyone in the room that you are uncomfortable with the tension and that you are the one trying to please them. To fix this, you need to master the void. Treat silence like a high-status weapon. When you make a point or ask a difficult question, don't rush to the next sentence. Let it sit there like a physical weight in the air. Look them in the eye, stay anchored, and wait. Because you're comfortable in the quiet, the other person will begin to feel the pressure of the void you've created. They will often start over-explaining or backtracking because they can't handle the tension that you are effortlessly controlling. If you can handle a 5-second silence without flinching, you own the energy of the entire interaction. It signals that your words have value and that you don't need to bark to be heard. Once you know how to hold the room's attention with just your silence, you have reached a level of magnetism that most people find intimidating. But there is one final rule you must follow to make sure they never forget you, which leads us to the final day. Day 7, the Scarcity Principle. Truly intimidating magnetism comes from the ability to walk away while the energy is still at its peak. Most guys make a massive mistake here. They finally feel the charisma working. They see the other person is interested and they don't want to lose it, so they stay too long. They talk until they run out of things to say, the energy dies and the conversation gets awkward. By the time they leave, the spark is already gone. To prevent this, you must perfect the high status departure. You have to be the one to end the interaction when the vibes are at their highest point. You leave when everyone is still laughing and wanting more. You simply look at your watch or your phone, give a genuine smile and say, "It was great meeting you, but I've got to head out. Enjoy your night." By leaving at the peak, you create a psychological loop in their brain. Because you cut the connection while it was still exciting, they associate your presence only with that high energy. You aren't just another guy they talk to for an hour, you're an experience they didn't get enough of. It creates an immediate sense of scarcity, leaving them thinking about you long after you've left the room. You now have the blueprint, 7 phases, 7 steps to rebuild your presence from zero. But remember, charisma isn't a hack, it's a habit. You might see progress the very first time you set your anchor or flip the spotlight, but you build the actual muscle over months of repetition. If you now want to make sure that you don't accidentally destroy your progress on the way, you can watch this video next on the 7 mistakes that silently kill your charisma. I'll see you over there.